country, I'm sure you are shocked to know, is too quick to see black children as criminals.
I don't know what you're talking about. Black children are balls of sunshine and happiness, and every time a black child is born, Republicans just hold up the child over a mountain cliff like the Lion King.
So Terrell Starr has a really great piece in Alternet where he talks about the ways in which black children are criminalized at a really young age, and he writes that of the 2,500 kids serving life without parole for crimes committed under the age of 18 in America, 60% of those kids are black. Florida leads the nation when it comes to charging kids as adults. And there is a direct file statute in Florida that allows prosecutors to transfer juvenile cases straight to the criminal court without input from a judge. So more than 50% of the children that are transferred from juvie to criminal court are black. 24% of them are white. The other 26%, I suppose there's some mixture of Asian, Latina, Native, and what have you. But 50%. And now when you talk about prosecutorial bias, you're looking at a black kid who stole something. You're looking at a white kid who stole, okay, I guess you don't go to life on parole for stealing. So you look at a black kid who killed someone and a white kid who killed someone. The black kid's definitely going to get tried in as adult. The white kid, maybe not so much. And in fact, we've covered stories where the white kids will get off because their parents are super rich.
Yeah, I mean, well, duh.
That one story last year about the kid who, what was it called? The term when you're too rich to know better?
Affluenza.
Affluenza.
That's it.
Yep. So, I mean, so apparently there's a 2014 study called The Essence of Innocence, The Consequences of Dehumanizing Black Children, which demonstrates that white people consistently view black children as less innocent than white children. And here's a quote. Children in most societies are considered to be in a distinct group with characteristics such as innocence and the need for protection. Our research found that black boys can be seen as responsible for their actions at an age when white boys still benefit from the assumption that children are essentially innocent. And I think we see that play out when it comes to media coverage of things like the Mike Brown shooting, where you're talking about, or Tamir Rice, for example. Tamir Rice is actually an even better example, where the cops who shot Tamir Rice thought he was 18 years old. So black kids are perceived to be adults even when they're 12 years old. But white people, when they're like 30, for example, remember we talked about that 30-year-old kid from Princeton who shot his father in the head because his father cut off his allowance? One of the media reports called him a kid. He's 30, but he's white and he killed someone. He's a kid. I think that's, well,
what do you think it is?
I was going to say fucked up. A little bit fucked up.
We're supposed to be reasonable.
I think that is unjust, unfair, and inhumane. How about that? Shorter, it's fucked up.
I agree. And I believe, I want to clear, like they called him a kid, but that was actually someone who was watching it, which is like kind of the point. The idea that like when people see something and they see someone of color and they see someone white do the same thing, of how it's looked at completely differently. Just like if someone of color is trying to get their bike, and if someone who is white trying to get a bike, like messing with the lock, the person of color is looked at as they're stealing the bike, as opposed to maybe they lost their key or something like that. Same thing about going inside your house. It's problematic, and the best part about it is that it's internalized. This is also internalized by people of color as well. We end up having these same type of issues, and we start to then judge people. You heard a lot about this during the George Zimmerman trial after the murder of Trayvon Martin, where a lot of black folks were telling other black folks, maybe you shouldn't be wearing hoodies. Right. Maybe you should. What are you doing with that? And we've actually internalized this idea that that black skin automatically criminalizes someone, and it's problematic. And so, like, on one hand, yes, it's obviously it's an aspect of white supremacy, and we have to also always remember that black people can uphold white supremacy, and you have to kind of call it out in all these angles, in all these spaces, and acknowledge that this is something that's happening. This is an American problem. I mean, this is a problem that is a very, very a part of the American thought process, and we have to constantly point it out. Like, you do realize that if black folks did it, it's looked at wrong. It's not about race. Why do you have to bring color into it? I wouldn't have to bring color into it if America didn't bring color into it 400 years ago.